Good morning, good morning, good morning if you're watching on the replay, and good morning if you were just joining me now at 11:30 a.m. on the last Monday of 2020. Good morning, hello everyone that's joining. Nice to see you all. Hello. So again, welcome to the last Mobility Magic of 2020. We'll be back again obviously next week, 2021, but we're going to finish with a little bit of work on the hamstrings today. So focusing on trying to loosen you up a little bit. I appreciate a lot of you have been sitting for the past few days, so hopefully this should be quite helpful to you, should loosen you up a little bit. You're going to need a foam roller, probably a band or a towel if you have one, not your mum's best one, but something that you can use to stretch. So lacrosse ball, foam roller, and a towel if you have one as well. So just gonna turn the comments off. Lovely to see you all again. Hopefully you can send me some messages and pass on feedback right at the end of the session. Love to hear from you, and love to look forward to your feedback as usual. So first thing I'm gonna do, we like to start our sessions off normally, and you can do this seated or standing. Personally, I have a preference for standing. This is our feedback loop. It's just going to cut me off a little bit at the top there, but that's okay. We're just going to start off with the ball under our feet. The reason that I like to start here is if you think about the junction point to where all of our fascial lines and all the musculature from our body kind of reaches down, it wraps around and connects under our foot. So often issues with our posterior chain, so hamstrings, glutes, all the way up our back to even to the base of our skull and across the top, are affected by where common areas of adhesion will occur in the body. So this is one area, this is below our foot. So we're just going to gently start here with a little bit of a loosening up with the plantar fascia on the base of the foot, and just to see if that can positively affect our hamstring stretches in the minute if you've been sitting a lot. Now, personally, I'm not a big stretcher of the hamstring directly, but that's not to say that a lot of people have opportunity there or don't have opportunity there. So we're going to spend some time there today. I'm going to show you some techniques that you can use. So again, foam roller, lacrosse ball, and a towel or a sturdy band, like a resistance band, is also useful. So just going to keep this moving. Don't need too much pressure on the foot. A 6 or a 7 out of 10 is good. We're just going to, as we normally do, we're going to pin that tissue down. We're going to stretch up and down. Just going to come a little bit closer so you can see. Not too worried about cutting my head off here, just as long as you can see my foot. We're just pinning the tissue down on the base of the foot and then stretching up and down. It's really going to start to loosen up the foot. Now again, if you have any pain in your foot, we're just looking for a 6 or a 7 out of 10. We're not looking for any pain or discomfort here. It's just like a stretch awareness. Okay, so let's change over. If you feel that you've kind of got all the knots and areas out of your foot, obviously if you're watching this on replay, you can spend as much or as little time as you want. You can pause this if you want, just so you can kind of work the kinks out. And on this foot, I can feel a little bit more tension. So I can spend about the same amount of time on this foot, but I can probably feel I have a lot more potential on this side of my body, on my left side. So again, pick an area where you feel that you have some opportunity. Let's pin that tissue down with about 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of pressure, and let's flex. So flex down and extend those toes, trying to tease out any areas that we find that have opportunity. And again, just move that foot, see what's going on in all those areas. Stretch. Find the next area, stretch up, contract down, move down a little bit, stretch up, down. Awesome. And we can even do a little bit of a roll just to encourage that tissue to kind of tease out. So again, just a good way to start, just to see if we can release any areas of opportunity with the base of that foot where the common fascial lines interconnect. So next part we're going to do, we're actually going to work our way up. So our first port of call is going to be our calves today. And this is such a great area of opportunity. We're moving up this posterior chain, trying to get everything loosened up as we head towards the glute. So our first the first side is going to be our right side. We're going to work on our calf, as I say, and we're just going to start by finding a part of our calf, if that's where your opportunity is, where we can feel a little bit of tension, a little bit of pressure. So I'm a little bit more external on the outside of my calf here. I can feel a little bit of pressure. So all I'm going to do is find a tension about 6 or 7 out of 10. I can lift myself up if I need to add more pressure, or I can cross my leg if I want to add even more pressure. But for today, I'm just going to do a little bit of a point and flex and extension for this kind of release. So again, find that sweet spot. It doesn't need to be painful, but you do want to have a little bit of a stretch awareness. And we're just going to reach back, extend away. Make sure you're breathing. Hopefully you are. And just move up slightly. Again, we're just moving in small sections, just breaking this calf down into small kind of quadrants, or even smaller if we need to, looking for areas of opportunity. So once we've kind of got a little bit of a tension release in that calf, we can roll just a little bit. You can either lift up to add more pressure, or you can keep it the same. And we're just going to roll backwards and forwards slightly, just gentle, not too fast, just to kind of get that calf kind of loosened up. Now, other ways you can do this, we can go side to side if we need to. We can even roll our ankle from side to side. That can work, but for now, you know, if you're just beginning this type of motion for mobility and you've joined us for the first time, we're just going to stay in one line, and we're just going to point and flex just to get that ankle mobilized a little bit via the calf. So, going to move on to the other side now, and we're going to do the other calf. So, pressure downwards. We can either lift our body up to put some pressure downwards if you need it. We can put one leg across the other if you want a little bit more pressure. I'm just going to do just a little bit of downward pressure with my body weight for now. And let's find a position which for you feels a little bit of a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of pressure, and you have a little bit of opportunity to that calf. I myself am feeling a little bit more outside, so I'm just going to turn my ankle outwards, and hopefully my socks are clean on the bottom, as you can see in the foreground. And we're just going to point our toe, and then we're going to pull our toe towards us, just for a little bit of a stretch. Nice deep breath in as we point away, and then we pull our toe towards us, and then we're just going to move into a new spot now. So again, break your calf down into quadrants just to kind of see where the opportunity is. You're going to move about halfway up now. So again, a little bit of pressure if you need to lift your hips off the ground, cross your legs over, etc. But we're just looking to mobilize a little bit. So bring your toe towards you, point your toe away, a little bit of downward pressure, about 6 or a 7 out of 10. We can even roll a little bit. We can go from side to side if we need to. We're just trying to see where that opportunity is. And here's a little bonus where you can even draw circles with those toes if that is what starts to loosen that tissue up for you. Okay, perfect. So that is removing some of the tension from our calf. It's going to allow us to mobilize our ankles a little bit more easily, and we're just moving up to the next section, which is what we're really targeting today. That's that hamstring. So start with the foot roll with the lacrosse ball. We're now moving on to a little bit of foam rolling with the hamstring after our calf. So again, same principle is going to apply here. I'm going to show you a few different ways to do this. Seated on the ground, sitting on a bench or a chair, both work really, really well. So actually, I'm going to start with my right hand side this time, as I did earlier. All we're going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of downward pressure on the foam roller. We're going to start closest to our knee, and you want to probably start a little bit about 3 inches above the knee, just to stay off the joint and the tendon. We're just going to start more towards where the muscle belly starts. So we're going to make sure that our leg is straight as we kind of move up, and as soon as you hit a point of tension, that's when we're just going to start to add a little bit more pressure by lifting our hips off the floor and rolling backwards and forwards. We can turn our toe inwards and outwards just to see what's affecting us most, and we're just going to move a little bit backwards and forwards with that 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of pressure. Now, again, if you need to add a little bit more pressure here, it's a bigger area of muscle, so you can add a little bit more pressure. If it starts to get to like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 straight away, then obviously back off just a little bit. We can add our foot back down. So we're just rotating in and out at this point. We're just rocking backwards and forwards, and now we're working towards that middle, so we're about halfway up the hamstring right now, just seeing where that pressure is. And what you may find is as you rock your toe inwards towards the midline, it moves a little bit more towards the adductors on the inside of the leg, so they kind of cross over a little bit there. We're just going to move that leg, or that toe, sorry, outwards and inwards, and we're just up towards about 3/4 of the way up the hamstring now, so we're just moving our toe in and out, in and out. We're just trying to get a little bit more. Now, commonly what happens is you get to about 3/4 of the way up the hamstring, you get a little bit of pressure on the front of the hip there. That's just where the tension's starting to release, and you should find a little bit more of the balance between the anterior part of your legs, so the quadriceps, and the hamstrings, where we kind of loosen them up as well. So let's start, again, 3 or 4 inches above the kneecap, just away from the joint. Let's keep our foot straight if we can. Just find out that area where that area of opportunity is, that tension, and we're just going to find out whether it's on the inside or outside of our leg. I don't have as much personally, but I'm going to hang on in there with you guys, and we're just going to work our way up slowly. So 6 or a 7 out of 10. I'm just going to rock backwards and forwards, just find out where that sweet spot is for us. Not all the time you have it, but you'll find somewhere in the hamstring will probably need to be a little bit more relaxed or loosened. So let's just work our way up a little bit as we kind of go in and out with that toe. We can even go side to side if we need to. And we're about halfway now. So halfway up the hamstring, just gonna rock back and forward, add a little bit more pressure if you need to. You can cross your leg, as I say. You can even just lift yourself up off the floor if you can. And if you want to do this from a supported position, you can always use some yoga blocks, or you can even raise the hip up by putting those underneath your hips too. About a 6 or a 7 out of 10 is what we're aiming for today, not too much pressure. And now we're going to move up to about 3/4 of the way up the hamstring. So right underneath, lifting those hips up. Want to keep those toes towards us if you want to have a little bit more of a stretch as you do this, or point it away if it's too intense for you. And we're just rocking in and out. Should sound my voice, you can see a little bit more. In and out, and again, you can bring that leg up a little bit if you want a little more of a stretch. Perfect. So that is if you want to do it with a foam roller, but what about if you want to do it at your desk? What about if you want to do it with a lacrosse ball? It's a really quick and easy release, very effective, and you can even target the individual heads of the hamstring in areas of opportunity, because it's more of a trigger point tool. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start a little bit more proximal to the origin of the hamstring, and we're just going to start by pinning our weight down so we can push forward a little bit. Again, lacrosse ball underneath the hamstring. Try and stay away from the tendon if you can, and we're just extending that leg. It's going to feel really intense real quick, so try not to rush into it. You don't need to straighten your leg all the way, and we can even turn our toe in and out. We can rock our weight backwards and forwards, okay? And then we're going to move that lacrosse ball down just a little bit. And again, look to see where the opportunity is for you. It's not going to be the same for everyone. We're just extending that leg. You can also do this with foam roll. It's not as effective, but if you have a small ball like a lacrosse ball, golf ball, tennis ball, that works really well. Or if you had some sort of mobility tool that you've been given at Christmas, even the top of a kettlebell works really well in this position. So we're just kicking it up. We're just getting that kind of pin and stretch from this position. So we're just kind of rocking backwards and forwards. All the way up, toe comes towards you a little bit. That's also going to help. And then now, we're just going to get to that last section. So we kind of worked reverse of that foam rolling that we did earlier. So we're just kicking it up, toe towards us. Pin your weight down if you need to add that extra pressure. And we're just going to turn in and out for the last bit. I find this one really effective. We're just skimming over it today. There's a lot of potential for people in this position. You can even do it sitting at your desk as well. So that works fantastic just to loosen up those hamstrings. And a little bit of glute as well, if you have enough space on the chair. So again, pinning the leg down, lacrosse ball is off the tendon, but is close towards the insertion of the origin of the hamstring. We're just going to extend it all the way up, putting a little bit of pressure if you need to. Going to move down to the next section now. So just keep looking for those areas of opportunity. It could be in the middle of the hamstring, could be more on the outside, so more laterally, or could be on the inside, so more medially. So toe towards you, going to move it down again. So we're just working down that hamstring, just loosening it up, extending away, loosening it up by pushing pressure down into the lacrosse ball. And we can even extend as well. So that should feel really, really loosened up now. Should feel a lot more flexibility in this hamstring. So now we've kind of teased that muscle out. Now that we've loosened it up a little bit with lacrosse ball, foam roller, whichever works best for you. Or if you don't have either of those and you just want to join us for the stretching component to this, here's where we're going to use that towel. So either a towel, or I also like to use just a resistance band for this particular stretch. All we're going to do is we're just going to lay on our back. So you've probably seen this before performed in other ways, but we're just going to start with our right leg. And all we're going to do is we're just going to lay on our back, and we're going to start with a very, very passive stretch at about where you feel a 7 or an 8 out of 10 in terms of stretch. So it could be down here, could be all the way up here, but you don't want to have any bend in your knee if you can help it. But if you do, that's completely fine, because again, if it's localized to your hamstring, that's where we want to hit the stretch. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to passively stretch for about 10 seconds. Okay, so nice deep breaths in. And again, my guesstimation is terrible, so we'll say 10 seconds in 3, 2, 1. Then we're just going to actively push down, contract your hamstring for about 6 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're going to lift it up again, just a little bit more range, hopefully achieved in that one. Bring your toe towards you if you want to feel a little more of a passive stretch. And just remember, there's a little bit of a difference between pain and stretch awareness, and we want to actively recruit that hamstring as we go. So let's just repeat that again. So it's a contraction, again, 3, 4, 5, 6, a passive stretch, keeping our left leg down and our right leg into a stretch. Feel it in the hamstring, hold it for up to 30 seconds. And this is really good as a recovery stretch. We want to keep it a little bit more dynamic if we're doing it as part of our mobility warm-up. And we can even kind of do it as a prolonged stretch at the end, or if you're doing it as part of your mobility drills. So let's just bring that one down. And again, we can do this 2 or 3 times on each side. You can use a towel, or you can use a resistance band. It's really great use of the resistance band. Let's just come back up again. You can keep this leg straight. Again, for this one, find your range. So a 6 or a 7 out of 10. We're getting a range where we feel the stretch. I have a little bit less range on this side, so we're gonna hang out in this stretch for about 10 seconds, making sure that you're breathing. It could feel really intense. Could go from like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 to like an 8 or a 9 on one side. So just make sure that it's relative to your experience of the stretch awareness. Okay, you don't want to kind of blow past it and strain yourself. There's no rush to the end here. So we're going to push down for 6 seconds. So actively engage that hamstring. Even if you get all the way down to the ground, you're literally pushing into the ground. That's okay. And that's about 6 seconds. So we're going to bring it back again. We're going to hold it for about 10 seconds. I'm placing the band kind of in the middle of the foot, but if you want to add a little bit more of a stretch to the end range here, you can even place it on the toes, and that's going to take it even further into range. So let's just push down again. 2, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's just hold this last one for about 30 seconds. Just nice deep breaths in, keeping that active also passive stretch as we kind of pull with the band to hold that end range. Just keep breathing. Again, just hold that range. And again, apologize to your mum if you've used her best tea towel. We just want to make sure that we're stretching and we're keeping that range at the end. So you can even add some oscillations to this area. You can even bring it all the way down to the side if you want to add a little bit more adductor stretch. That works fantastically well as well. So a couple more things we can do just to tie up the last piece of this hamstring stretch. And that's adding a little bit more of a dynamic stretch, but we're going to do a little bit more of a passive. So good check-in with this range of motion is just to see if you can reach your toes either side. You can use this before or after just to see if there's a feedback loop for you that this could be a good way of doing it. So again, sit and reach. You can even just do it with one hand if that's as far as you can go. And we'll just passively kind of see where we can get to. You can do it on the other side too. And these hamstring stretches tie in really nicely with the adductor work that we did over the last couple of sessions. If you're interested in those, you can actually go onto the Instagram live page of Good Life, and you can scroll down. You should find myself going through some mobility routines for the hips and upper body too, and that goes over a few weeks as well. We've done 3 sessions in the last 4 days, so you can tune into those and just kind of go through them, and they kind of all tie in nicely together. So the last thing we want to do is add a little bit more of a dynamic component to this, just to see where we're at. And again, if this works for you, great. If it doesn't, no problem. We're just going to, and again, this is more for a warm-up stretch. We're going to rock our body back a little bit, moving our hips away from our ankles. So we're just kind of stretching the hamstring actively by just rocking our hip back, just making a little bit more of a dynamic stretching action as we bring our toe towards us. You should feel it work through our hamstring. We can even point our toe down as we work this hamstring stretch. It's going to come into our adductors as well as we rotate. You may even find some clicking and popping in your hip as you rotate through. That's common as that hip kind of loosens up as well from that hamstring work that we've been doing. So I'm just going to rotate slightly. Try not to pick a chair that's going to roll away from you. So if you're using a desk chair, sometimes it's useful if you have good stability. But if you're someone that doesn't have great stability and mobility, try and pick something a little bit more stationary. So let's do this on the other side now. So the left side. Again, about a little bit wider the shoulder width for your stance. Leg up on a chair. Make sure you're nice and stable. Hold on to the back if you need to. And we're just rocking our hips back. We're not trying to stretch too far. We're just trying to keep this dynamic. So toe is going to come towards us as we rock our hip back. We bend from the hip. We're bending from the hip. So we're not trying to flex our back too much. Not too much flexion. We're just rocking from that hip. As we come back, as we come back, as we come back. Now let's see if we can turn our body. You can come across a little bit so you can see me. We're just going to turn our body as well, trying to get that stretch to work its way into our adductors and into our hip as we kind of turn our body towards, or away I should say, from the chair, or in my case, exercise bench. So we're just turning away. Okay, awesome. So hopefully that has helped remove some of the difficulty you've had with your hamstrings. Hell on the hips, hell on the hamstrings. They can be really, really tight as you kind of sit a lot over this festive period, trying to stay as active as you can. Again, have a lot of content and videos that work fantastically well together. So we've done some mobility work on the upper body and lower body. I'm just going to turn the comments back on. Again, we really love your feedback. These shape the sessions on a regular basis and help us to decide what content to put out there for you guys. So we love doing this for you. So any feedback you have is really useful. You can message myself. We can leave it on the Instagram page afterwards. We have a session next week at 11:30 as always, and we will see you in the new year, in 2021. So I wish you all the best. Have a fantastic new year, and we'll see you on the flip side. See you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye.